over the coming. So welcome again to the COP26 coalition call, the COP26 call, where we'll be looking at different ways that civil society groups can engage with the COP26 that's coming up. But more importantly, I think what we're aiming to achieve with this particular call as part of the Global Week of Action and the Global People's Assembly is really to center our discussions around what's happening in the upcoming COP negotiations, in the experiences, the lived experiences of communities that are most directly affected and that are themselves the most active when it comes to climate change in different parts of the world. So we have quite a diverse range of different speakers who I'm hoping will all be able to join. I know that there were some delays and I think there are still some looking to come in shortly. I'm just going to share my screen here so that we can just situate ourselves. As we've been hearing, there has already been quite a lot of discussion through the Global People's Assembly around the thematic areas, including climate and how we link climate with social justice. And we know that this year, a long delayed COP is going to be happening in just over a month's time in Glasgow. And one of the biggest challenges around
Sorry, I'm not sure where Ollie's gone. I'll just try and admit him back in. I think he might be having technical issues. Sorry, everyone, if you could all just bear with. I don't know if anyone else who's in the event would like to take over for a brief minute. Oh, we're just letting Ollie back in now. Ollie, are you there? I have no idea what happened there. I'm sorry.
So I dropped out of the call. I was just trying to set the scene, but my connection is also not great today. Apologies for that. So I was just highlighting that we are in a situation where the challenges around COVID are further compacting the challenges to ensure diverse voices can be heard, also on climate. And we know that there are many organizations that will not be able to attend the COP in person, but this is obviously a crucial moment, and there are many others who are calling for ambition at the COP, and we want to make sure that if it does go ahead, which it looks like it will go ahead, then that meeting should be as inclusive as it can be, and that diverse voices should be brought into that dialogue. So we'll be hearing a little bit later on from some of the people who are involved in trying to bring different voices in to the actual COP meetings, whether in person or increasingly virtually. But before we do that, as I said at the start, we're looking to demonstrate through our own work how some of those diverse voices can be better heard. And today we should be hearing shortly from a number of different colleagues from different parts of the world. So I want to make sure, I didn't see Mithika on the call yet, so I think we might actually come first to Michelle, who's joining us from Ecuador, who's very active with the youth organization of Sinchi Wampracuna, indigenous community in Ecuador. Michelle has been leading youth engagement work on climate with organizations across the Andean region. So apologies, in the original notes we mentioned the Amazon, but actually this is more in the Andean region of Ecuador with indigenous communities there. Michelle will be speaking in Spanish. I'm hoping that we have Michelle on the call. And if those of you who are not Spanish speakers, you would need to choose the interpreter button at the bottom of the screen. Make sure that you choose your language setting. Michelle, ¿está presente? I did see Michelle before. Do you see Rose? Are you able to see if Michelle is there? Ah, muy bien.
Estoy.
Bienvenida. Michelle, tienes la palabra, por favor.
Muy buenos días, tardes o noches, de acuerdo a la parte del mundo en la que se encuentren. Es un gusto para mí formar parte de este espacio. Soy Michelle Catucuamba, miembro fundadora del Grupo Juvenil Sinchihuampracuna de la comunidad de Paquistancia en Ecuador. Como saben, el mundo está cambiando y los desafíos son cada vez más grandes. Combatir el cambio climático, luchar contra las desigualdades, erradicar la pobreza y ahora luchar contra la pandemia son problemáticas que ambiciosamente la Agenda 2030 les está abordando para transformar el mundo y hacerlo mejor. Alineados a esto, desde nuestras comunidades, el promover la justicia social y climática son retos que los jóvenes hemos asumido. Es así que en mayo del 2020, en medio de la pandemia por el COVID-19, dejamos de luchar individualmente y formamos un colectivo de jóvenes cuyo primer objetivo fue el de brindar apoyo para combatir dicha pandemia. Con el pasar del tiempo, ¿le pueden pasar la diapositiva, por favor? Ya. Con el pasar del tiempo establecimos 3 áreas fundamentales del trabajo, las cuales son cultura y tradiciones, seguridad alimentaria y cuidados del ambiente. Consideramos importante dentro del área cultura y tradiciones fomentar y rescatar nuestra identidad cultural, la cual por temas de globalización le hemos dejado atrás. Junto con esto hemos reactivado el tema de ceremonias andinas y recuperado los diferentes sitios sagrados que estaban abandonados, formando así una comisión de juventudes que se encargue de este tema. Dentro de la seguridad alimentaria se promovió la creación de huertos comunitarios y una feria comunitaria. Dentro del cuidado del ambiente se promueve el turismo comunitario y ecológico basado en la protección de bosques primarios, protección de páramos y en sí la conservación de fuentes de agua. Por favor, la siguiente.
Interpreter here. I need an interpreter, please.
Bueno, en estas
Sorry, just to explain, Lindiwe, I think there was a question. You should be able to find the interpretation, anyone who needs interpretation. If you go to the bottom of your screen, you should see a little globe button. You press the globe button and that should allow you to then choose your language. Select English and then you should have the interpretation. Por favor, puedes seguir.
Muchas gracias. Como les hablaba en el tema de seguridad alimentaria, creemos importante promover una producción sana que contribuya a una buena alimentación. De igual manera, la producción local de alimentos contribuye a reducir las emisiones, pues evitamos el desplazamiento a grandes distancias para conseguir nuestros alimentos. Con este fin, nace la feria y el huerto comunitario. La siguiente, por favor. Bueno, dentro de temas del cuidado del ambiente, hemos promovido diferentes talleres junto con niños, jóvenes y adultos, donde se visibilicen las diferentes potencialidades que se tienen dentro de la comunidad, al igual que la protección, como les mencioné antes, de nuestras fuentes de agua, creando rutas y senderos con mínimos impactos ambientales que permitan a propios y extraños conocer la naturaleza y la importancia de conservarla. Alineando a esto se encuentra la protección de las fuentes de agua. Así logramos que todos los niños, jóvenes y adultos se involucren en esto y creen un compromiso global. En base a nuestra experiencia, la siguiente, por favor. En base a nuestra experiencia tenemos diferentes sugerencias, las cuales son la creación de espacios de participación y formación para los jóvenes que se involucren y logremos un impacto más grande. La creación de nuevas iniciativas desde los territorios y que éstas sean visibilizadas. Fomentar la inversión extranjera para la conservación de páramos y fuentes de agua. Alineado a esto, potenciar el turismo comunitario, ecológico y de investigación para lograr una transición hacia una producción sana y amigable con el planeta. En esta década de acción, desde los territorios, estamos trabajando para lograr un mundo más equitativo, seguro, ambientalmente responsable, promoviendo así un desarrollo sostenible para que, como lo establece la Agenda 2030, nadie se quede atrás. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Michelle. Thank you so much for that incredible overview of the challenges, but also some of the ways that you are working to overcome the challenges on the ground that you face there in the Andean region of Ecuador, with working closely with a wide indigenous communities there. I think we see very clearly through that example some of the challenges that are being faced directly on the ground, but also how communities themselves can mobilize and find those solutions. So we should have a further example coming in from PACJA, from the Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance, Mithika, but I don't see Mithika on the call yet. I know that we had some delays. So perhaps what we can also do, we also have a video that we wanted to share, because we, within Action for Sustainable Development, we recognize that there's a real need now to identify ways to share stories directly, particularly given the situation that travel is so difficult at the moment. And so we've been working over the last 6 months or longer, closer to 9 months now, identifying different communities that are themselves working to provide ways forward in terms of social and environmental justice. This is supported through the Climate Justice Resilience Fund, and we are launching a new program which we're calling Zovu, which showcases those different stories. And so we have a video to share with you. It's one of the first ones that has been completed, and this also comes from Latin America, from Venezuela. So I'm going to see if we can also now share that video, and then we'll open it up for any comments and other thoughts that many of you will have that you might want to share your own experiences. And then we can come on to the specifics of COP26. But let's see if I can get this video now to come through. Hopefully this will bring it to life a little further. Is the sound okay?
Hola, mi nombre es Gabriel Cabrera y soy director del Centro de Activismo y Desarrollo Democrático para la región de América Latina y coordinador de Fridays for Future Venezuela para la región central. El Centro de Activismo y Desarrollo Democrático para la región es un centro de jóvenes donde promovemos el activismo y la investigación, entendiendo al cambio climático como un nuevo desafío a la gobernabilidad democrática, no solamente en Venezuela, sino en toda la región de América Latina. Desde allí promovemos investigaciones y promovemos campañas para declarar la emergencia climática en Venezuela, consecuencia de los constantes derrames petroleros provenientes de la industria petrolera venezolana y la contaminación proveniente de la entrega de concesiones ilegales en toda la Amazonía venezolana, que representa 10% del territorio de nuestro país y que hoy pone en riesgo a toda la Amazonía. En esta oportunidad, junto a la red Action for Sustainable Development y el proyecto Zovu, queremos desarrollar un reportaje gráfico tipo documental donde visibilicemos ante la comunidad internacional y ante toda la comunidad de activistas y ambientalistas la grave emergencia climática que contrae Venezuela. La situación de las poblaciones indígenas en la Amazonía venezolana, como en el delta del Orinoco y en toda la región de Guayana, representa una grave crisis de derechos humanos, incluyendo derechos económicos, sociales y ambientales para todo nuestro país. Desde allí, nosotros queremos visibilizar esta grave crisis y todas las consecuencias en materia de derechos humanos que ha traído a la población civil indígena en Venezuela. Nuestra intención y nuestros objetivos es poder, junto a este proyecto, visibilizar todas estas circunstancias ante la Conferencia de Naciones Unidas por el Cambio Climático y ante organismos internacionales como las Naciones Unidas, el Mercosur y la Unión Europea, para poder mostrar y buscar una solución a esta grave crisis de derechos humanos y ambientales que se vive en Venezuela. Y que no solamente es un caso de Venezuela, sino es el caso de países de todo el sur global.
Great, and I believe Gabriel is also on the call, so if there are any questions for Gabriel, I'm sure he would be happy to respond. So that just gives you a sense of how we, working together with so many different groups, can really try to give more visibility, as Gabriel has said, to what's really going on in different parts of the world. And I think we need to identify ways to use the technology to ensure that those voices can be heard. I know that there's been a lot of discussion during this People's Assembly around our voices not being heard. And this is an opportunity and a tactic that we can use increasingly to make sure that we have those voices, that we bring together all of those stories of those who are most directly affected. So I'm going to check one more time, and I would welcome if Mithika or Salina from PACJA are on the call, if you would like to unmute. But otherwise, I think we can open it up for any comments, any thoughts that other people might have from your own experiences around linking climate and social justice. And then we'll move on to hearing about more specifics around the COP. But would anyone like to share their own experience before we go any further? Please, if you can use the hand raise function. Can I put a question to Gabriel then? If no one else has a question, maybe Gabriel, are you there? Would you put your video on for a second? Are you able, Gabriel, to tell us a little more about what's happening right now in the Orinoco region that you mentioned in your video? And is there anything that can be done in terms of international solidarity to protect the lands there? Could you give us a bit of an update? ¿Puede ser en español?
Hi, Oli. How are you? Muchísimas gracias. Gracias a todos por escucharnos. Mi nombre es Gabriel Cabrera. Me encuentro acá junto a Wandy Guaycara, quienes somos coordinadores del Centro de Activismo y Desarrollo Democrático para la región. Somos una organización que gracias a Zovu y Action for Sustainable Development, en esta ocasión estamos visibilizando la grave emergencia climática que tenemos en Venezuela. Venezuela es un país donde la Amazonía venezolana, donde los graves derrames petroleros hoy en día, pues bueno, se encuentran ante una grave crisis. Un país petrolero con las mayores reservas, un país con las mayores reservas mineras, donde no hay control, y esto ha causado una grave crisis en los océanos, contaminación, una crisis de derechos humanos, y además de eso una crisis en la Amazonía venezolana, la cual se habla muy poco, y donde hoy en día existen poblaciones indígenas que están siendo desplazadas por grupos armados irregulares, siendo desplazadas para proponer y propagar la minería ilegal del arco minero del Orinoco. Todo esto lo van a poder ver en nuestro documental llamado De Venezuela Last Frontier, Venezuela la última frontera, y pues bueno, queremos invitarlos a participar, y una vez más agradecido con Oli y con todo el equipo de la red por esta oportunidad.
Thank you, Gabriel. Gracias. Muchísimas gracias por entrar. There is a question that's come up in the chat actually for you, Gabriel. Is there a link, or do you see a link between some of the challenges that you mentioned with the petrol, the oil companies, and a link to the current administration and the undemocratic situation in Venezuela? We know that the current government there is very closely linked to the oil industry. What can be done to try to bring a different way of looking at the future for the country? En español, si tiene una pregunta en el chat, si puede explicar un poco la relación entre las petroleras y el gobierno en Venezuela, y cómo puedes cambiar el sistema en Venezuela.
Hi Gina, thank you for your question. La situación entre el régimen venezolano y las petroleras en Venezuela es muy importante de señalar. ¿Por qué? Porque el petróleo está en manos del Estado. La estatal venezolana llamada Petróleos de Venezuela, PDVSA en español, es la responsable de todos los derrames petroleros. Nada más a 30 minutos de nuestra ciudad, en Valencia, ciudad en la región central de Venezuela, contabilizamos más de 16 derrames petroleros en menos de un año. Eso es algo muy importante. Además de eso, en este momento, el régimen venezolano está otorgando concesiones petroleras de forma ilegal en pozos petroleros donde no se puede explotar hasta los momentos. Algo muy importante es que estas transnacionales petroleras en Venezuela actualmente están comprando chatarra, están comprando material en desuso, lo cual ha causado una mayor contaminación. Tenemos un aproximado de más de 90 pozos petroleros en Venezuela abiertos que están constantemente echando petróleo, están derramando petróleo en las costas del lago de Maracaibo, el cual es uno de los más grandes, está entre los 2 lagos más grandes de Sudamérica. Pero la relación es esa. El petróleo en Venezuela lo administra el Estado y las transnacionales que tienen concesiones son a través del Estado. De manera que la responsabilidad es directa, en este caso, del régimen venezolano.
Muchísimas gracias, Gabriel. Está muy claro. It's a very clear relationship, and it's very powerful to be able to see how we as civil society can live and identify those links and raise awareness as you're doing, to try to highlight how also we working across different borders might be able to support you, might be able to raise awareness of your struggle. So thank you so much. And thank you again to Michelle as well from Ecuador. I think you brought some very practical solutions, as someone has also mentioned in the chat, very clear ideas on what needs to change on the ground. And it's very, very much appreciated that we can hear from you today. So actually, we have one question, I think also for Michelle. How do you mobilize and involve the individuals that you engage? ¿Cómo trabajas para movilizar y a trabajar para que los individuos se sienten parte del movimiento? Por favor. Michelle.
Creo que más que movilizar es el compromiso que como jóvenes hemos asumido. Lo único que nos faltaba era unirnos. A veces tenemos las mismas ideas, las mismas iniciativas, y unirnos con más jóvenes, conversar, hablar, llegamos a un consenso, por así decirlo, que todos queremos trabajar, que todos queremos contribuir a construir un mundo mejor. Entonces, en ese camino más y más personas se van uniendo. Creo que no es necesario como que obligar a nadie, sino abrir más espacios en los cuales tengamos la oportunidad de participar y así crear un colectivo más grande.
Gracias, Michelle. You remind me of, I don't know if some of those on this call may have seen the discussion that was hosted yesterday on the SDG Action Zone with Jay Naidu, where he highlighted some of the point you just made, Michelle, that actually young people want to speak and want to take part. It's just simply to provide the space where those voices can be heard, as you say. I think sometimes the UN processes can be so complex and difficult to understand that people don't feel that their voice can be heard. So we will certainly continue to identify ways to open those spaces with you. I'd like to, if there are no other questions at this point, I'd like to move us on to the sort of second half of our discussion, which is more focusing on the realities of the COP26, which is coming up. As I said at the opening, this is clearly a very challenging environment this time, and we know that there have been calls for it to be further postponed. However, as we said, it does seem that this will go ahead, and there's a very active coalition in the UK that is looking at ways to try to bring as many different voices into the COP as possible, whether physically or also virtually. And I'm really glad to see that Camille has now joined us. Thank you so much for giving us your time, Camille. It must be extremely busy for you. And I think Camille also has some slides which I'm going to put up on the screen and just talk us through how you're supporting different activists to be involved in the COP. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ollie. And it's really wonderful to be here today. As Ollie said, my name is Camille Barbagallo. I'm one of the COP26 coalition coordinators. I introduce myself as being the person who's not based in Scotland. We might just go to the next slide. don't think those ones are mine. Mine are a bit more colorful. There we go. That's mine. I know that pattern anywhere. As Ollie said, we are only 6 weeks away from COP26. The COP26 coalition supported the call for postponement because we don't think that the UK government has done enough to ensure that people will be able to participate. But nonetheless, there were some gains that were made last 2 weeks ago that came as a result of the Cannes International call for postponement that has seen some, small improvements in terms of the quarantining rules and the fact that the government is now offering to pay for people's quarantine costs. In response to that, the COP26 coalition has a really active visa support, a visa support service, which I think is the next slide. Maybe not. I don't have my slides on me. I'm very sorry, Ollie. No, it's the People Summit, but that's okay. So just to say that we've fundraised around £30,000 and we're helping a couple of hundred people with their visa applications, because I don't need to tell anyone on this call just how racist and terrible the UK government's immigration policies are. And we're doing everything we can to help support individual people who might be delegates or who are civil society participants in attending. We're also at the moment convening regional meetings. Our friends in Asia are convening a meeting on the 29th of September. Information will be on our social media channels. We have another Latin American regional meeting happening on the 4th of October. And also Africa, North Africa and West Asia meetings are also in development. And these regional meetings are to help share information like I'm doing today with folks, and also to explore with activists on the ground the possibilities of organizing mass demonstrations on November the 6th, which is a global day of action. Normally there's a big action in the host country of the COP, but we've been organizing during a global pandemic for the last year and a half. And so very early on, we decided to pivot towards a decentralized action program, which we're hoping to see actions taking place across the world. The slide on at the moment is some venues that you might, if you do manage to get to Glasgow, you'll be able to see. But we'll go back to the other one, People Summit. I'm doing this really quickly because I think I've only got 5 minutes. Alongside the mass mobilizations that we're organizing for November the 6th, the following day and for 3.5 days, there'll be a People Summit. That's running from Sunday through to Wednesday. It will be delivered in person, so hundreds of events will be happening in Glasgow across 13 venues, but it will also be happening online because we know that thousands of people have been blocked from being able to attend, and we've also, we want to, obviously we want to be able to include as many people as possible. And so if you go to the next slide really quickly, if you do get, just to make it a little bit more real, it feels like we haven't stepped inside a venue together for a really long time, and that we've been spending a lot of time on this platform and in these rooms. But here we go, real venues with people and chairs and all of that kind of stuff. Next slide. So I think from memory, the next slide, is an offer and an opportunity for anyone on this call that's interested in getting involved in the organizing of the People Summit. You obviously don't need to be in Britain to do that. We organize online. There's a whole range of different working groups that you're able to be involved in, and that I hope there are some there that would be of interest to folk here. And there's an email address there, and I'm sure these slides will be available to folk after the meeting. Next slide, please. So just really quickly, because I'm sure I'm probably already out of time, there are some other key things that I just wanted to let you know what is happening across the 2 weeks. A lot of what we're doing will be live streamed so that people who aren't able to attend Glasgow, we understand that between visa, COVID and the costs, that this COP will be defined as one of the most inaccessible that has ever been held, really. There will be movement assemblies happening each day, and there will also, and those will be an opportunity for us to share with the world our feedback and reports on the negotiations, and also we will be hosting various kind of themes, for holding the movement discussions that are necessary to have. I think we have one more slide and then we're done. So just to come back to the main game in town, which is building people power on the streets and fighting for climate justice. If you're interested in organizing a demonstration in your hometown or home city, please get in contact. There's a website there that is our website, and we're looking to collaborate with everyone on this day, and hopefully seeing a wave of demonstrations happening across the world on November 6th, or if November 6th doesn't work for you because of various different national conditions, then of course it can be on another day. What we want is for people to take to the streets and to mobilize. I think I'm well and truly over time. Sorry, Ollie, back over to you.
No problem at all, Camille. No, it was really great to see what you're doing. And I think I might just keep it up for one more second here, this last slide, in case people do want to see that link. And maybe if you feel free to please put the links in the chat as well, Camille, and we'll definitely make sure to share the slides and share all the links that you've mentioned. So thank you. No, that was great. And you were within your time. So thank you so much. And just to re-emphasize what Camille has said, so the 5th of November is the Friday strike. The 6th of November is the Global Day of Action. We love Global Days of Action. That's the next big one to look out for on the 6th of November. And then I think it was the 7th until the 11th. Is that right? No, or 7th till the 10th is the People's Summit, right?
That's
okay.
Great.
And then you can follow that People's Summit, even if you're not in person, online. And so we'll make sure to put all those details in a follow-up email. And we really hope that some of you will be able to come. And those who can't, we're going to do everything we can to have screens available. And so our next speaker is also going to talk us a bit more about different ways to engage also around the COP. Someone who many of you will know from GCAP days, and that is Rajiv Joshi, who has gone on to do many other great things, and will be coming back to his hometown, I think, of Glasgow for the COP. I think, Rajiv, if you're sharing your screen at the moment, we're only seeing the Zoom. But if you want to put your camera on as well, we'd love to see you, and then I can hand over to you. Raj, welcome. Hope you're doing well. It's early in New York.
Hi there. Hi, everyone.
Yes, we got you now.
I'm hoping everything's going well, and welcome from the UN General Assembly here in New York. There are in there, I must say, it's not the same as every year, and many of the events that would normally be taking place have really been shifted to virtual events, but not necessarily with the same levels of participation. And the levels of accountability, I think, are nowhere near what we need to see. And I think groups like the People's Assembly are absolutely critical in this moment. As we set our eyes on the future, I think we just might want to just think a little bit about the context. And many of us have been involved in the Great Recovery response from COVID-19 and the converging crisis of climate change and inequality. And in June, Bridging Ventures and Action for Sustainable Development and GCAP and many others worked together to deliver a statement to the G7, which has also formed the basis of advocacy around the Great Recovery Plan all the way through to COP26 on the road through the G20 and many other moments. And as we approach the COP26, we are planning to host a climate action lab together with A4SD and GCAP and many others that will run from the 1st to the 4th of November in Glasgow. For some reason, I am unable to share my screen. I don't know if I do share the screen with someone else, if someone else is able to bring it up. Ollie, are you on a computer that can
I think I have.
I don't know.
I think I have your
I give you the link.
slides. I think so. Yes. Is this what you were looking for?
Great. If you can bring up the Climate Action Lab. Exactly. Yes. If you could just go to the start, that would be great. The very first one, and then just hit present. So the Climate Action Lab is designed to be a neutral space that is really focused on catalytic collaboration. And it's an opportunity to really align people at the very beginning of the COP so that we, as civil society, can be very clear about the expectations we have as heads of state are arriving, as the negotiations really begin, to really set the tone. But also to develop solutions, because we all know that we are in a decisive decade and we cannot wait for governments to come with the solutions. We have to try to work together, and so we are going to be creating the space for partnerships, for announcing new initiatives. There are groups, for example, working on rethinking the broken Bretton Woods system that is oppressing many communities around the world. There are groups who are looking at the future of education. There are groups that are looking at how
We're losing you, Raj, but we have the slide up with all of the key partners so far. And if you wanted to just say a few more words about what the space might look
employ
like.
nature as other mechanism that could be harmful.
I think we may have lost Raj there. I know that he's actually at the UN right now in New York on his phone, so it may be that the connection has dropped there. I'll just share one more slide from this presentation that Raj has for those who are interested. So this will be happening before the events that Camille mentioned, and the idea is that there will be several days in the first week of the COP for dialogues to happen around some of the key themes that we've been talking about also during this People's Assembly. So for those who are interested, I think Rajiv will also put his details in the chat, and we'll be sending out some further information around these opportunities as well. So this is something in the first week. Raj, you're back. Did you want to close out your points? Go ahead.
Yes, so sorry about that. The connections are here is a little bad. I think we're just a lot of people trying to connect in the hotel. So the idea is to build the event around the healthy, green and just recovery plan, which we collectively with 400 other organizations around the world kicked off in June, and really build toward this idea of a great regeneration as we come out of the crisis in the years ahead. And there is space, although we're receiving many expressions of interest. And so we will be running a process where we're sharing a form with many of you to join as partners and to be involved in planning events and planning sessions, and inviting people to participate online and offline. I don't know if Ollie, you can just quickly move to the slide with the pictures of the space. I think one of the things that's most unique about this space, and as a Scot myself, well, Kenyan Indian Scot, but a Scot nonetheless, is that the informal space is as important as the formal space. So given the venue is running till the 4th, we want to use the final day, for example, to hold banner making workshops.
Hey mate, shut up.
Who was that?
I'm not sure who that was, but
Michael.
Can you mute yourself, please? Yeah. Let's just give Raj the chance to finish off. I'm not sure if this is someone who was actually on the call. Go ahead, Raj.
Oh, it said Joe Biden left. That was really strange.
Okay, it was a prank. It was a prank. I don't think that was the real Joe Biden.
No, I don't think so. But anyway, they might be hijacking our banner making workshop, so we need to stand up. The idea is to really get the messaging right for the march, and we did this together in 2005 as well when we kicked off the Make Poverty History campaign, and it was quite successful. And we'll also have a space here for people to be able to meet, have a drink, connect, and then obviously people online can also connect in all of the different auditoriums. So this will be a space that we're also looking at the area where people can meet being available as a kind of collaboration cafe for the 14 days of the COP, so that there is a space for people to connect, which would otherwise not be available. And the final session of the 4th, we will be getting some space inside the COP to announce any of the major outcomes that come out of this 1st to the 4th summit. So we will have some space in the blue zone for the Climate Action Lab to also make calls to action, share any new initiatives that civil society is developing and that has come out of this as a contribution to delivering and addressing the climate crisis. So this really is a space for urgent action as well as deliberation, but we hope that many of you will be involved, and thank you for the space and the time. And then from 2022, this will obviously continue, and we have Rio Plus 30, we have the halfway point to the SDGs, we have Stockholm Plus 50, and so this is really kicking off a process that would run all the way into 2022. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, Raj. And I think combined, we've heard from Camille, we've heard from Raj. It's going to be a busy couple of weeks there at the COP. We know it's going to be a challenge, but I think there have been creative ideas there put forward both by Camille and by Raj in terms of how people can engage and how we can try to ensure that different voices can be brought into those spaces, both in terms of the informal spaces, civil society own spaces, but also bringing some of those voices into the official spaces, as Rajiv has said. And we would love to hear if there are any of you on the call who have ideas or thoughts or plans that you would like to share. I think we still have about 5 or 6 minutes. I know we started late, but we do have a little bit of time if anyone else would like to share their ideas for the COP, or if they want to bring any of their experiences around how you're mobilizing and how you're thinking ahead. I know we've all been focused on September so far, but this will be the next big milestone just coming up in November. So it's not that long to plan now. And we hope that many of you will also be mobilizing during that 2-week period. So are there any other questions or observations? please do use the hand raise if you can, and we can then unmute you. I see we now have Mithika. Mithika, we were hoping to hear from you earlier. It's great you've been able to join us now. So Mithika, would you like to just share some of the thoughts there from PACJA? Welcome.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Oli, and apologies for really disappointing. Actually was rendering time, but my computer malfunctioned, and these are the challenges we are experiencing in this global COVID world, where we are forced to do this online, and actually that's why we were fighting for physical COP, because this is what we experience in Africa every time. So we lack energy access. Proper gadgets like the gadget I'm using is very ancient, and then of course internet access. You can see my friend Joshi also enter problem. So these are the challenges. So I very apologies, and I don't know whether I'll be allowed. I sent to my presentation, but allow me not to make that presentation, just to mention a couple of things, having listened to my colleagues, what they are doing, because there are so many convergences on what we are planning in the countdown to the COP, and where we can build the synergy, because that is the most important thing for us in the civil society. Yeah, yes, I think we are building considerable momentum. We, as the civil society, we have been following the coalition work, and some of my colleagues have participated in many of the activities. So they are doing great work, and we hope to advance in Glasgow. Right now, before I came to this, I was participating. We are hosting this year's second World Forum on Climate Justice with the Glasgow Caledonian University Center for Climate Justice. And you can see actually the momentum which is building. We are very happy, though there are some obstacles placed by the UK government, the COP presidency. I think the fighting which we have been having have yielded some results, that now they are quite they have relieved some of the very sterile conditions which were affecting our participation. You will remember that just last week, 2 weeks ago, we had the Nairobi Summer School on Climate Justice, which brought together actually a cross-section of young people from the global south and north. And that is part of our build-up to the COP, because we believe that the action cannot change, is not going to be brought at all in the conferences. I've attended the last 10 COPs, and the song has always been the same. We innovated these processions, the meetings which we are having in the Blue Zone, and those others, but things have not changed. So locally led, people-centered, bottom-up solutions and actions, building momentum from the people, owned by processes owned by the people, I think is the way to go. And that's why I agree on the activities which we are doing. For us, just to complement that, is that a week ahead of the COP, we are having what we call the week of action. That is built up in all countries where we have platforms across Africa. And it is an assortment of activities, including processions, petitions, leaders at very grassroots level, at municipalities, at councils, so that people understand what we are talking about when we go there. Because there has not been a link between what we do during the COPs and how we link it with the local global action. So that is our priority. So we are going to come with already we have a position. We had a meeting in Abuja, where as African civil society, we came up with a position on what we want the COP to be. And sorry, we did not. And because the issue of this, the procedural justice is not affecting only the government. We suffer these issues of consultation, procedural justice, even as Africans, because that is what we have been fighting for. Somebody was talking about Climate Action Network, the statement. We were there and we believe that we have a constituency. And then when we hear that a statement has been released, it's a civil society statement. Of course, if it was a CAN statement, then that's all. But we believe that we need solidarity and we need to work together. But why do they consult others? Why does it mean that now because we also our views, we believe that any delay of COP, however, and because we don't want to fall into the shoes of the people who have been longing for us to prolong the process, the decisions, so that they don't take action. So I think what we need to do, and this global forum is very important, when we want to work together, let us not leave others behind. Let us have that spirit of working together. So in a nutshell, what I'm saying, it is not even at governmental level. Let us try to see how we walk the talk even at the civil society. I'm very happy about the mobilization going along the coalition, the Climate Action Hub. Let us see how we can work together. As PACJA, what we believe is working in partnership, in collaboration, but let's respect each other. And this is not to say that we don't respect, but what we are saying, we need really to work in such a way that we appreciate others' effort. That is when we are going to feed the monster, which is the big companies, the big corporations, which want us divided so that we don't work. And if we do that, it is not only at climate justice we are going to achieve, even at the international level, human rights, we defeat the big corporations. We cannot, when we are divided, and we need to be frank and trust each other that my small effort has very much
Excellent.
the effort of Oli. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mithika. And I think it worked perfectly having you bringing us to the wrap up, and actually you very neatly tied together the earlier presentations, which you weren't able to hear, but we heard exactly from some of those communities at the front line in Venezuela and Ecuador, facing many of the same challenges that you've highlighted also in the African continent. And absolutely, we center what we're doing in the experiences, the lived experiences of so many of our colleagues who are working to bring about change at the front lines. And I very much hear your point that justice delayed is justice denied. And so let's make use of this moment, even if it's going to be a challenge around the COP. Let's make the most of the opportunity that we can. And we'll certainly be working with all of you to try to bring as many diverse voices into the COP as we can. And as I posted in the chat, there will be a series of links coming around to everyone who's joined this session with the presentations, with the various links to the different events that will be happening both in person and online during that 2-week period at the COP. So this is the beginning of a conversation, and we very much look forward to continuing the conversation with all of you. I know we started a bit late, but I'm aware that we're now into the time for the next session, which is looking at the UN reforms. So thank you again to everyone who joined the discussion on climate and COP26, and we really look forward to keeping in touch going forward, and hope to see you all a bit later on the virtual March of the People's Assembly. Thanks, bye.